This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast.
In Illinois, a lonely widow met a fortune teller who seemed to create money out of thin air. Joan was amazed, and within the next 2 years gave the fortune teller $80,000, most of her jewelry, and a brand new Cadillac. Then the fortune teller disappeared. On a lonely country road in North Carolina, a teenage girl was murdered by a single bullet fired through the trunk of her car. An eyewitness has now come forward and under hypnosis may have described Rhonda's unknown killer. 77-year-old Howard Drummond was an eccentric who died as he lived, alone. Howard Drummond left behind 50 empty coffee jars, 80 pairs of white socks, and an unclaimed fortune of over $250,000. Someone watching may be his heir. Also tonight, a different kind of mystery in the world of medicine and science. Doctors have given up nearly all hope for young Don Hammond, who accidentally shot himself while hunting. Don lost more than half of his blood, had no blood pressure and virtually no brain activity. Yet Don's family never lost faith and never left his bedside. Incredibly, Don recovered. Modern medicine has no explanation, but perhaps there is one. A miracle. During the holiday season, office Christmas parties are a traditional way of easing into the festive spirit. The night of December 22nd, 1981 marked the first company Christmas party for a 19-year-old girl named Rhonda Hinson. Rhonda had recently graduated from high school in Valdez, North Carolina, and was celebrating her first job as a clerical worker for a local steel company. At midnight, Rhonda left the party with two girlfriends. At approximately 12:30, after dropping off her companions, Rhonda would begin the 10-mile drive to her home, where she still lived with her parents. At exactly 1 a.m., Rhonda's mother awoke from a sound sleep with a strange premonition.
I woke up feeling panicky, scared, because I felt like something had happened to Rhonda. I felt like Rhonda was dead. I felt like she had been in an automobile accident.
I got up and I had a little OCB scanner that you listen to, you know, accidents and all that stuff on it. And for some odd reason, I just turned it on, thought maybe, if it'd been an accident, I'd hear on the scanner. And the minute I turned it on, it came over, that it'd been a homicide.
120, go ahead, Burke.
120, check a vehicle in the ditch, foot of Mineral Springs Mountain at I-40. Complainant reports blood in the front seat of same.
Rhonda's car was discovered on Mineral Springs Mountain Road, just a half a mile from her home. The driver's door was open, and just a few feet away, Rhonda was found, dead. She was lying on her back, and her arms appeared to have been deliberately placed at her side. Tests showed that Rhonda Hinson had been killed by a single bullet fired by a high-powered rifle. This bullet had passed through the trunk of her car, through her seat, and penetrated her heart.
The hardest thing is living every day wondering who did this. Rhonda was the most loving, caring person that you've ever known. Rhonda was the type daughter that everybody would like to have.
The murder of Rhonda Hinson at first appeared to be a random act of violence. But as the investigation proceeded, disturbing clues began to surface, suggesting that Rhonda may have been murdered by someone who knew her closely. 8 years have passed since Rhonda's death, and police are still at a loss for an explanation or a suspect. In high school, Rhonda was a popular girl, an expert tennis player who had many close friends. But several weeks after her graduation, she began to behave strangely. Though normally happy to drive alone, Rhonda began to ask her father to accompany her on trips into town. And on one of these trips, she made a disturbing statement.
Dan, I've got something to tell you, but I'm afraid to.
I said, what is it, Rhonda? I said, no matter whether it's good or bad, tell me.
Now, what do you have to say?
And she said, I'll think about it. And she never did explain, never did tell me why, what it was, you know, she's afraid to tell me.
Well, you keep your mind on your job, okay?
Her mother also recalled an uncharacteristic conversation shortly before Rhonda's death.
Mom, I was wondering if it's ever okay to go with a married man.
I said, Rhonda, there's never a time that it's all right to go with a married man. The only thing that comes from that is people getting hurt. I didn't ask her if she was asking for herself, if she's asking for somebody else. I don't know what she... Rhonda wanted to do the things that pleased us.
In the weeks prior to Rhonda's murder, her parents began to notice that she suffered from insomnia. Rhonda also began getting up in the middle of the night to take showers. According to authorities, such obsessive behavior is common in women who have been sexually abused.
The shower would wake me up. She'd turn the shower off and answer me and say, I just can't sleep, I feel dirty. I'm really angry at myself. I should have talked to her. I should have asked her what was wrong. If I had asked enough, I would have gotten some answers.
This unusual behavior suggested to police that Rhonda was under some kind of personal pressure. Could this pressure have resulted in her murder? The police investigation began to uncover evidence that someone may have been stalking Rhonda the night of her death.
Between 12:15 and 12:30 on the morning that Rhonda Hinson was murdered, a witness drove under the Interstate 40 bridge on Mineral Springs Mountain Road. She observed a blue General Motors Chevrolet facing in a northerly direction with two white males in the vehicle.
The car was parked next to the same off-ramp that Rhonda would use to exit. It was spotted 30 minutes before the fatal bullet was fired, and just 200 yards from where her body was found. Later that evening, another witness traveling down the same road passed a similar blue vehicle with a single man at the wheel speeding away from the murder site. As he continued down the road, the witness saw Rhonda's vehicle parked at the same spot where her body would be found. A woman was slumped over the steering wheel, and a man was standing at her car door. The witness was unable to get a close look at this man, and assuming the couple were drunk, drove on.
There were some latent prints on the driver's door, but these latent prints have not been identified as of this date.
With so few clues to go on, police put their witness under hypnosis and asked him to recall more details about the murder scene. This is the actual audio tape from the hypnotized subject.
There's Chevelle. Looks blue. 70 model, I believe. Looks like the front end of it's been messed up. It's in primer. The primer's gray. He's not a big guy. He's 6 foot, 5'10". He's about medium build. Sort of a dark brown-headed guy.
Surprisingly, the witness also recalled seeing a second car parked down the road from Rhonda's vehicle. This car was a black or dark blue Trans Am. Some believe that car may have been driven by the murderer.
There's so many unanswered questions. We have a very attractive young girl whose life was taken, and as far as we know, her character is unblemished. It's hard for me to understand why a young person like this life would be taken away and not have an answer for it.
Who killed Rhonda Hinson and why? Authorities are certain that she would never have stopped for a stranger. Was she pulled over by someone who knew her? Someone who then fired the fatal shot? Who was a man seen at Rhonda's car? The murderer or a passerby who left the area when he discovered that Rhonda was dead? Police still have no idea.
We have some different stories, but to really be able to substantiate these stories, we don't have that information. That's what we're looking for, those little pieces of information that we can substantiate what happened.
8 years have passed since that Christmas party ended in tragedy. Rhonda's mother still keeps her daughter's room exactly the way it was when Rhonda was alive.
I can almost imagine Rhonda still in there. We have a baby doll that she had years and years ago. We've kept that out. We've kept some of her trophies out. The grave marker, I think, says it all. On the grave marker, there are the words, "Always a ray of sunshine." That's the best description that we have of Rhonda. It's a perfect description.
In a moment, we'll see how viewers helped capture an alleged con man who had infiltrated a nudist camp. And we'll also tell you how you may be able to help authorities track down 2 con women posing as fortune tellers. Last September, we examined the case of a Florida nudist resort whose members were allegedly victimized by a smooth-talking con man calling himself Rusty.
Hey, Rusty, how are you?
In February of 1988, Rusty arrived at the Sunny Sands Nudist Resort and quickly ingratiated himself with many of the club's members. He opened a video rental store in a nearby town and convinced some of Sunny Sands residents to invest thousands of dollars in his business. But just 7 months after he arrived at Sunny Sands, Rusty's upstanding reputation in the community began to crumble when a neighbor's 11-year-old daughter accused him of molesting her. Rusty was arrested for sexual battery against a child under 12 and ordered to be held without bail. However, many of Sunny Sands residents believed that Rusty was unjustly accused and convinced the judge to release him on $25,000 bail. 2 days later, Rusty disappeared, allegedly taking with him more than $50,000 of investors' money.
No matter what happens, we know we'll never get our money back. But right at this point, the money is immaterial. Right now, the big thing I want Rusty caught is what he did to that child.
Police later learned that Rusty's true identity was William Eugene Hilliard and that he was wanted in both Florida and Texas for fraud. Within minutes of our broadcast, several viewers from South Carolina called our telecenter to report that they recognized William Eugene Hilliard. The morning after our broadcast, Hilliard was arrested by Georgetown County Sheriff's deputies at a convenience store in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, a small town just south of Myrtle Beach. He was living under the assumed name Ronald Edward Kent. On October 20th, Hilliard was returned to Florida to face charges of fraud and sexual battery against a child under 12. If convicted of the sexual battery charge, Hilliard could receive the death penalty. Fortunes told, tarot cards, and tea leaves. Sounds intriguing. And many of us have wondered what goes on inside a fortune teller's parlor after the doors close. But let the buyer beware. The sad fact is that some of them are more interested in fortune-taking than fortune-telling. Across the United States each year, tens of thousands of victims are bilked out of millions of dollars by fraudulent fortune-tellers. Tonight we present the story of two of these victims who, embarrassed by their own naivete, have requested anonymity. Peoria, Illinois, August 1987. A respected educator we will call Karen had been devastated, mentally and physically, by an automobile accident. Friends urged her to see Ann Coricelli, a fortune teller who was reputed to have psychic powers.
The last thought of my mind was to go see a psychic. But I thought, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's $10 for a half an hour. What have I got to lose?
I see that you've had family problems lately. And you've been very depressed lately.
Yes, I have.
Have you considered suicide before?
She told me that I had had suicidal thoughts, and I hadn't ever told anyone. So I was convinced that she was psychic, and she had the answer to my problem.
This is a curse that someone's put on you.
And I looked at her like, you have got to be kidding.
God loves you.
But she said it so believably.
I have to be your friend.
And she held my hand and she leaned forward and said, we can do something about this.
I'll help you, and we can overcome this together. I'll help you.
At the point she told me there was a curse on me, I think I would have been ready to believe anything. It was an answer to a problem.
Ann told Karen that she must follow a strict regimen in order to lift the curse.
I was taking ritual baths and scented oils. I was blessing the doors, the windows, the cars, people with holy water. But I couldn't let anyone know what was going on. Each time that I saw her, she gave me more things to do, which was great. I loved it. I felt like I was beginning to get control back of my life.
Ann told Karen to come with her to a nearby bridge and bring $4,000 wrapped in a white handkerchief.
I brought the money. This money has taken all the evil from your body.
She told me that we had to destroy the money because Satan was of the earth, and what better way to control him but with his own dirty money. So we took the bundle of money and threw it off the bridge.
Is it gone? It's gone. It's gone. The money's gone. The evil is gone.
Karen now believes that she was duped by Ann Coricelli, the daughter in a sophisticated mother-daughter fortune-telling team. Lena Marie Wilson, 53 years old, is Ann's mother, though she sometimes pretends to be her grandmother. Together, they prey mainly on vulnerable women. Another victim of the fortune-telling scam in Peoria was a 69-year-old woman we will call Joan. When her second husband died, she was left with a considerable amount of money. Despite the financial security, Joan felt lost.
I think at the time I was very vulnerable because I had lost my husband 2 years before. I was lonely. I was searching, maybe for answers in different places. And so it was only $10 to go and see her, and I thought, why not find out and see what she says about my future, my life, and things in general.
When Joan visited the fortune tellers, they were operating under the name of Calvin. The first person she met was Ann Coricelli.
Thank you. It was a regular house. There was a small room off the living room, and there was an altar and many holy pictures all over the wall, many, many candles, and many pictures of Jesus.
I can tell that you've had a recent spiritual crisis in your life. I can also tell that you have a recent death in the family.
Well, yes, my husband 2 years ago.
Okay. I can also see that there's something evil in your charts. Something that I am going to have to ask my grandmother to help us with. And I'm going to go ahead and get her now. Is it all right?
That's fine.
Okay.
Hi. My granddaughter told me you need help.
Yes.
I can help you.
Please. She told me there was evil in those cards, but I'm doubtful of that.
Let's see. I have the power to rebuild your problems. Take this thread and tie 3 knots.
3 knots?
Yes.
She told me that my life had had a curse on it for over 40 years that was put on by a girlfriend of my first husband. And she actually named the person that my husband went with before he married me. She said, will you come back and bring with you a $1, $5, $10, and a $20 bill?
Did you bring the money with you?
Yes, just as you asked me.
Lena Marie had also instructed Joan to bring a sheet, which she had tied around both of their necks.
To multiply and restore this money. Rip this money and I will prove I do have the power.
She told me to tear these bills in half. And she said, if this money will go back together and become whole, then I can help you. Otherwise, I can't. And then she wrapped them up in the white handkerchief and tied it all together.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be.
Lena Marie held the torn money under the sheet and rubbed it over Joan's arms and
I
legs.
will have the power to restore the money.
Yes, I believe you have the power.
Do you believe in Jesus?
Yes, I believe in Jesus.
Do you believe I have the power?
Yes, I do believe you have the power.
When Lena Marie unwrapped the money, the bills appeared magically restored, and indeed even multiplied. To Joan, it seemed like a miracle.
She said, kneel down and thank God. And so I knelt down before the altar and kept saying over the Our Father.
If you tell anybody, the curse will be back on you. Do you understand?
They always associate their special powers with God or religion or the church. And more importantly, with this particular type of trick, with making the money multiply, is to get in the victim's mind that money means nothing. The next step is to convince the victim that they are cursed.
I do have the power to take the devil
Lena
out.
Marie told Joan to fill a shoebox with dirt and leave it in her garage for 3 days.
Now look at this, what I'm going to do.
She had a pitcher of water, and she said, now, we will pour this over the box and see whether or not the devil is in there. She took a stick and moved the dirt around, and then I saw this water turn to blood.
Oh, you see this blood? The devil.
She had put this fear into me that all this would happen if we didn't get rid of the devil in my life, and here it was in front of me in this box. She said, we've got to get rid of this devil. It is in your life, and it is all around you. And she said she had to have money because this would give her more power, and the more money I could give her, the more power she would have to help me.
Over the next year and a half, Joan gave Lena Marie more than $81,000 in cash. She also gave Lena Marie most of her jewelry and bought her a brand new Cadillac.
Well, this money will help to take the evil out of your body. Money is evil.
Marie had the type of personality that made you feel that she was helping you.
Do you understand?
And I believed in her. She had me so convinced. I believed everything. She had me so controlled that anything she would ask me to do, I would do.
Sister, I'm so glad to see you.
Are you feeling fine today?
I'm just feeling good.
Finally, Lena Marie had Joan hand over the last of her life savings,
No, let's pray.
$40,000.
She said, now we have to burn this money because money is evil. She put it in a garbage can and then put lighter fluid on it and burned it. She had me so convinced that all material things, all possessions, all money was evil because the curse had been on me and everything that I owned and possessed. She had actually brainwashed me.
The money that the individual thinks is going into the fire does not actually go into the fire.
Kneel down and pray. Mine is evil, and in order to purify
There
you,
might be a $1 bill or a $100 bill wrapped around play money. And this is what actually goes into the fire and is actually burnt. Real money never goes into the fire.
Did you see this?
The crime that they're committing is they're taking valuables from people by the means of deception. But the majority of the people would just as soon cut their losses and not come forward. They do not want to suffer the embarrassment of the community, of their peers, of their family. The embarrassment is a very hard thing to overcome.
I gave her close to $150,000 in money, possessions, and jewelry.
I look at myself and I say, how could I be so stupid? I'm a college-educated person. I'm a professional. I've seen enough news reports. I've lived in the world long enough to know what real crime is and that people at any opportunity are very willing to steal your money. And I cannot believe that I was a victim of this crime. I feel like the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
The evil from your body's gone into this money.
The money that was in the bundle had been wrapped in a handkerchief, and she had refolded it several times before it was ever thrown into the river. I never saw the actual $4,000. I had my eyes closed in prayer.
Is it gone? It's gone. It's gone. Do you believe in the power? I do believe in the power.
Every time she handled the money, she could have switched it. What confirmed that a switch probably happened was that she took off.
Yes, I did. Praise the Lord.
Based on the testimony of Karen, Joan, and 16 other victims, warrants were issued in Illinois for the arrest of Ann Coricelli and Lena Marie Wilson. The two women were nowhere to be found. 4 days later, police in North Kansas City, Missouri, noticed some suspicious-looking people in a motel parking lot.
Boy, did you see him looking at us, Cal?
I want to check those plates.
They ran a license plate check and found that the car belonged to Lena Marie Wilson's daughter. Ann Coricelli was not in the car, but Lena Marie was.
Are you Lena Wilson?
Yes, mine.
You're under arrest. Step out of the car, please. What's in the bag?
Nothing. You have no right to do this to me.
When police searched the car, they found over $250,000 worth of stolen jewelry.
All right to do this.
It's like a jewelry store in here.
You guys are wrong for doing this.
The police never found Ann Coricelli. Lena Marie Wilson jumped bail 6 days after she was apprehended. Lena Marie Wilson is 4 feet 10 inches tall and weighs 130 pounds. She's 53 years old and has a dark complexion, brown hair, and brown eyes. She uses the aliases of Lena Calvin, Marie Marks, and Lena Marks. Ann Coricelli is 5 feet tall and weighs between 140 and 170 pounds. She's 26 years old, has a medium complexion, brown hair, and brown eyes. She uses the aliases Lori Wilson, Lori Calvin, and Ann Marks. The police are also searching for Joe Marks, a convicted male accomplice. He is 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighs 120 pounds. He's 39 years old, has a dark complexion, brown hair, and brown eyes. Update: Joe Marks has been captured. Within minutes of our broadcast, the Springfield, Missouri Police Department received a call from a viewer who recognized Joe Marks. On November 20th, Greene County, Missouri Sheriff's deputies arrested Marks at his parents' home, where his mother was operating a palm reading business. 4 days later, Marks was extradited back to Illinois, where he is currently serving a 6-year prison term for theft and conspiracy. In a moment, the fascinating story of an eccentric recluse who lived in a tiny room at a YMCA. His friends were astounded when he left behind an unclaimed fortune of $250,000. Our next story is about one of the most frugal and unusual people we have ever encountered. He was reclusive, eccentric, a man who spent his time dreaming up the most peculiar ways to conserve money. When he died, he left a fortune valued at more than $250,000. This mysterious man devoted all his time and energy to saving money. Yet ironically, the fortune he amassed now sits unclaimed. Perhaps someone in our audience tonight is his heir. Howard Drummond moved to the Lansing, Michigan YMCA in 1985 when he was 74 years old. He rented a room for just $49 a week, but chose not to pay an extra $5 a day for his own private bathroom. He always ordered the same breakfast, fried eggs, bacon, and rye toast for only $1.99. He also bought 2 extra breakfasts, packed them in his ever-present gym bag, and took them back to his room at the YMCA for lunch and dinner. Howard's daily expenditure on food was only $6. Howard was a pack rat. He saved money and everything else. In his room at the Y, he kept 50 coffee jars, all empty. He collected hundreds of magazines and countless rubber bands. Howard owned 80 pairs of white socks and 8 identical suits and hats so he could wear the exact same outfit every day. Howard lived his life according to a rigid set of rules that only he fully understood. He seemed to have no friends and only a few acquaintances.
Good morning, good morning. Howard, how are you?
Primarily, Howard had a very regimented lifestyle. He would pay his rent at a certain time every month, the same amount every month. His receipt, he would want stapled to a certain piece of paper a certain way every time it was done. However, there was another side to Howard that I found that people rarely saw. He was a very gentle person. He was very appreciative of all the small things that you did for him, and he was very willing to say thank you for everything that you did.
Every day, Howard went to the downtown Lansing post office. He subscribed to the Wall Street Journal, Forbes magazine, Psychology Today, Foreign Affairs, and Soviet Life. He regularly received envelopes from banks and sent out registered letters to banks. Howard never failed to stop for a visit with postal worker Frances Dodge. He often presented her with unusual shopping lists written on the backs of old envelopes.
Just a courtesy.
Howard always gave Frances money to cover the items he asked for, and she was usually able to find what he needed.
Do you have any rubber bands? And I need some coffee.
I've got some coffee.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I brought you some coffee and I brought you some, just a minute, let me look.
Oh, good.
And I also brought you some washcloths.
Oh, I can use those.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm feeling fine.
Good.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. I thought he didn't have anything. Why would anyone go around in the same clothes all the time? He just looked really poor to me. I always asked him why he wore that same hat all the time. And he said, well, it's not worn out yet.
After completing his daily routine in Lansing, Howard returned to his room at the YMCA. He never allowed anyone inside. He died on January 28, 1989. Two days later, Paul Rosenbaum, a county-appointed attorney, visited the YMCA. Since Howard had left no will, it was Rosenbaum's job to settle the estate and find Howard's heirs. Looking for clues, Rosenbaum spread the contents of Howard's room at the Y over the conference table at his law office.
It took probably 2.5 weeks to sort out everything. He had every single piece of paper from probably 25 years. He had a diary that was one of the most unbelievable things I have ever witnessed in my life, in which he kept an hour-by-hour account
of the headlines in news stations across the whole United States. He had 3 watches that wouldn't work. There was thousands of used shoelaces, unlimited amount of newspaper clippings, with a lot of it had to do with the royal family and Princess Di. He was infatuated with her. It was unique, to say the least. To the best of my knowledge, he had 11 separate bank accounts from coast to coast with $250,000 in cash in the bank accounts. And that $250,000 is not even the tip of the iceberg. He has a whole lot more money out there.
Strangely, the gym bag Howard always carried with him was not found in his room. Some say Howard kept his most important papers in that bag. Among Howard's possessions, Rosenbaum did find a key marked number 29. The key seems to open a standard locker, the type you might find in a bus station. Could Howard's missing gym bag be in the unknown locker? Could the papers inside lead the way to even more money? Authorities in Michigan are still searching for Howard's missing heirs. We have very little information about Howard Thomas Drummond. He was born in Houston, Texas in 1911, the only child of impoverished parents. He served in the Army from 1942 to 1945. He was fired from a job at a California bank for stealing Scotch tape, then became a postal employee in Pasadena. He lived at YMCAs in Pasadena, Denver, and Dayton before moving to Lansing, Michigan. He died at the age of 77 and went to his grave holding the secret of his $250,000 fortune. In a moment, a mystery with a happy ending. A mystery of a life saved when all hope was gone. June 10th, 1989. Don Hamilton and Donna Johnson are married in Maple Plain, Minnesota. This happy day is, in a way, a miracle.
Sponge, pull back, let's isolate that vein and artery. Retraction.
Just 20 months earlier, teams of specialists have been working around the clock to save Don's life. He was in a deep coma. Some of the doctors thought Don was already dead.
Cut these holes.
Don was not breathing, did not have an effective heartbeat. He had serious damage to body organs when he arrived. Statistically, Don's likelihood of surviving was very, very low, maybe 0.
And that night I stood by his bedside most of the night and just wiped the blood because they said this probably would be his last night, and he was bleeding from his eyes, nose, and mouth again. And it was just like it was the last thing I could do for my son.
Don Hamilton's recovery is a shining example that happy endings do occur. His story is one of those unexplained events in the field of science and medicine, which proves that medical science and simple faith can turn out to be wondrous and mysterious partners. November 8th, 1987, just before dawn, Don Hamilton and a group of friends set out deer hunting 175 miles north of their hometown, Maple Plain, Minnesota.
I'll go way off to the right here, down to the edge. Okay, I think we're gonna take off over here. All right, we'll see you guys.
We all got ready to leave, and I took my ATV and drove out through the field, parked at the edge of the woods, and then walked into the woods to the tree that I had previously planned out that I would be in. And with my climbing harness and straps, I got myself strapped into the tree, and then I pulled the gun up to me and loaded it and just sort of sat back, relaxed on a branch, and I just loosened up on the gun. I had it balanced on my legs, and apparently I shifted it enough so it got off balance, and when I loosened my grip, it slid off.
Glenn! Steve! Sounds like somebody's been shot. Donnie!
For 25 agonizing minutes, Don Hamilton's friends searched the dark woods.
There he is, Glenn.
Finally, they found Don in the tree. A bullet from his own rifle had severed crucial veins in his leg. Don seemed completely lifeless. "20 minutes later, an ambulance rushed Don to the nearest hospital.
Okay, is he breathing?
No.
Technically, he was alive, but he had no blood pressure at all.
Bag him, Pete. You gotta watch him, maybe, Bill. Yeah. Get those blood pumps on. This guy has nothing circulating. Okay. Let's get another unit. When we started to work on Don, he was not breathing, he was not moving, he was comatose, and his heart was not pumping blood. There was no blood to pump. Okay, check that pulse.
No carotid pulse.
Okay, he's in electromechanical dissociation. Let's go. Continue CPR. He'd lost more than half of his total blood volume, and maybe close to 2/3 or more. I was afraid through the whole process of working on Don. I was afraid simply because I knew it would take everything our team could do to pull him through. The farther along we went, the more afraid I became in a different way. I was afraid that we as a team, doctors, nurses, anesthetists, respiratory therapists, lab personnel, would have saved a body, but not a brain.
One more, that's it. One more, Kelly, please. Hold these, Jan.
We ran out of options for Don in our hospital very quickly. We resuscitated him. Our surgeon operated to repair massive damage to the veins in his left leg. We gave Don all the blood and blood products we had, and he needed more.
Hold, and I'll cauterize, and we'll come off with them. Off.
The only thing we could do was transfer Don.
Don was helicoptered to the North Memorial Medical Center in Minneapolis, 200 miles away. There, a team of specialists waited for him. They stabilized Don's physical condition, but his brain showed no sign of life.
First thing I'm going to do is open your eye and shine a light in.
When I did the initial evaluation on Don, he failed all the tests. In essence, he basically did not have any breathing, any response to pain, any basic deep-seated reflexes that are very well protected in the brain.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but your son is brain dead.
I can't accept that. Dr. Norbach said that it's the same as if someone has been underwater for an hour. He said, have you ever heard anybody underwater for an hour and has lived and had a brain? And I still told him that I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't accept that yet.
She had that feeling in her eye that said, okay, I've heard your side of the story. Well, let's just see. I have my own side of the story.
Oh God, our Heavenly Father, we earnestly pray for Don's recovery.
We knew that our church was praying for him, and they were a support the whole time.
Beyond their help, we pray that you'll be the great physician.
From 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, we were never alone. There was someone with us, and they even had a schedule made up so that we wouldn't be alone when he died.
Tragically, Don's body began to fail him. First, his kidneys stopped functioning, then his lungs. Once he even suffered a cardiac arrest.
Donnie, it's really going to be nice to get you out there again.
Nevertheless, Don's family talked to him as if he could hear every word they said. They prayed and searched in vain for a glimmer of response.
We'd like to get near a snowmobile out now.
Doctors offered them the option of turning off Don's life support systems. They refused, and despite the overwhelming odds, never gave up.
You just show us how hard you
They kept up the hope of survival even when it seemed like it would never occur. And lots of times when we would bring bleak news, they would accept it because they had to accept it, but you could tell that they were going to rise above that and somehow Donnie was going to make it.
My feeling was very positive all the time. I just knew that he was going to be okay. I just couldn't help but know that. After 5 weeks, his friend Karen Speeder and I went in to see him.
Hi, Don. How are you doing?
Don, Karen Speeder's here to see you. He nodded. You do know Karen Speeder, don't you, Don? To me, this was the breaking point. And I said, isn't that nice of Karen to come and see you? And those 3 same short nods. So we knew, because it was answers to questions. And he was nodding yes 3 times. So we knew that he was hearing us.
By that time, of course, we'd been dealing on a day-to-day basis with the family and kept giving this news that was always couched with, well, I don't think things are still going to go well long range. And then all of a sudden to see, just like a flower opening, that he started to get markedly better over a period of just a day or two was just a great feeling all the way around.
In 4 weeks, Don Hamilton made the miraculous journey from brain death to walking away from the hospital on crutches. Within 6 months, he threw the crutches away. The doctors and Don's family were united in the awesome feeling that they had witnessed a wonderful and mysterious event.
This was a very memorable case. We love being wrong in situations like this. It sort of balances the ledger, shall we say, a little bit for all those other ones where things don't quite go as well.
If you believe in God, you'll call Don Hamilton's survival a miracle. I happen to believe in God.
The doctors don't know why I lived, and I think God had a reason why I'm supposed to be here, and he pulled me through.
20 months after his accident, Don married Donna Johnson. Every day, Don Hamilton feels awe. He no longer takes life's joys or life itself for granted. Next week on Unsolved Mysteries. In 1962, Sonny Liston was the toughest man on earth, the heavyweight champion of the world. 9 years later, he was dead. Police say he killed himself. His friends and family say Sonny Liston was murdered. Also the story of Sharon Stevens, a woman whose life has been haunted by the abuse she suffered as a child. But Sharon does have one happy memory, a couple who briefly were her foster parents and taught her the true meaning of the word love.
I know if it hadn't been for them, I probably would have been a child abuser, drug addict, a prostitute, very active alcoholic. I feel I would have turned out very bad if it hadn't been for them.
Sharon wants to reunite with this couple and thank them for literally saving her life. Join me next week for another edition of Unsolved Mysteries.
Thank you.